see you guys.
Yeah, man. Thanks for having us. Appreciate you.
Yeah, I appreciate you guys coming on. It's funny when Don messaged, was it Don, you messaged me, right, on Instagram?
Yeah.
When you messaged me the day before, I was actually on your guys' website because I was looking into it for our school. So I was like, hey, what perfect timing.
Right on. Yeah, that's great, man.
So we're called, there goes my light. We're called Acacia Accreditation.
Okay.
So we're looking at partnering with Academy Safe.
Got it.
But what we're doing is we're actually doing the background investigation portion, and then the coaching accreditation, and then
cool.
they would be the ones to list us on their website potentially.
Got it.
They're going through Safe Sport, and that's kind of one of the things we wanted to talk about is like the problems with background checks as a in terms of how not thorough they are.
Yeah, that'd be awesome. We actually, long story short, we had an issue with one of my other companies where we found out my assistant was stealing like $40,000 from us, and the background check didn't reveal like that she'd been charged but not convicted before of identity theft. And it was like, if we were a little bit more detailed in looking into it more, I'm sure we would have found that, but we ran like a normal background check. So
yeah. It's wild, man. Maybe a little history. So I'm a retired federal agent. I worked the street as well in Las Vegas, and worked SWAT there in Las Vegas, and then moved to the federal government late after and did some SWAT work there. But throughout my tenure, especially working national critical infrastructure stuff, our backgrounds are like every 3 years, right? And so when people think of a background check, they're like, yeah, that you must go through this thorough process. But in today's reality, it's kind of, you pay $19.99 and you run somebody's name through and you have no idea what they're looking into versus like a tiered system like what the federal government has, what I've been working with for, the last 20, 25 years. And that's what I wanted to build, was like the tiered system of a background check. So like a tier one, which through our accreditation, a tier one is a background check for kind of like, it's honestly that cheaper background check. We're going 5 years into your history. We're looking for any criminal charges, nothing in depth, but enough to that if it's a janitor that has access to your keys, you probably want to have some sort of background check, right?
Of course.
Then you have like kind of your situation where, now somebody has access to credit cards, merchandise, those kind of things. And, we're trusting people. And when there's no real red flags, those can go on and on and on. Next thing you know, you're out $60K, and you're like, where did this money go? And that's where we built the kind of the tier two, where we're doing a credit check on you. We're, looking 7 years into your background to see, what kind of embezzlement charges, credit issue charges, maybe even a couple DUIs to see if there's any red flags to worry about for there, right?
Sure.
Not that would preclude them, but the owner may want to know that. If it's 6 months ago, might be a problem,
Yeah.
And then we can go into like the coaches. And so in the federal system, we go into sensitive critical, tier 5. We didn't need to go that in depth, but we needed to go so in depth that we actually can get you accredited to be around kids. And, that's where my passion, my wife's passion was, where we changed the business model. And that's that tiered system. We're going all the way back. We're going to when you were 18 years old.
Good.
We're not looking for just convictions. We're looking for, have you ever been charged? Because in this day and age, in the criminal justice system, and this is really sad, especially being a cop, I was so frustrated by this. We would do a lot of work. We'd put our lives in danger to go into a structure to extract somebody who basically said, I'm not coming out. We'd get them hooked up. And then 2 days later on the street, we hear a year down the road, that they pled to a lesser charge. We're not even convicted at all. And, I believe in due justice, and everybody has their day in court. But it just seems like our court systems are failing us so much right now that we just can't look at convictions. You have to look at charges. And that's where, our program really goes into taking a look at like, what were you charged with? Not just convicted, because if there's smoke, there's fire. And I don't want to be that academy that says you should have known because, he or she was doing this for the last 5 years. Right. Yeah. So,
and it only makes sense for our industry too. And I'm sure you guys have seen, like, we have problems in our industry with the wrong people being around kids. And I'm sure I've seen it in the gymnastics industry as well, and dance and other industries. And I think a lot of it is that, number one, owners don't know what vetting to do. Or number two, they're just doing a Google search.
Well said. Totally.
Clicking the first Google ad that comes up for background checks.
Yep. That's so true, man. Yeah, that's so true. Yeah. So, when my wife was talking about it, and so so this is an interesting thing. So I was stationed in Puerto Rico. And while there, we had Hurricane Irma hit us, Hurricane Maria, right? We didn't have power for months at a time. And so first thing that actually came up were cell phones, even before power. They generated cell towers. And so, man, it was wild. Instantly we're blowing up. It was such a cool feeling. Well, the first few texts that we got out of that is like, hey, let's all meet up and hit the mats. And I was so stoked. I was just like, holy moly, I need this. I need to de-stress. Let's go hit some jits, right? And that's how powerful jiu-jitsu is to me. It just it filled my bucket, man, in such a huge way. So we get there. Lo and behold, we're doing jiu-jitsu. Streets are riddled, by the way. So it's even hard to get there with debris. I mean, there's still no stoplights. I mean, it's still super dark. Well, my wife was in Miami at the time doing business. Airports had just come back online, and so now we're rolling. I got my 2 kids there who do jiu-jitsu, and I take a thumb to the right eye, pop it like a grape. So yeah, there's no hospitals. They're all, pretty much closed down. It was a wild scene. Well, ultimately that retired me. And
now he's known as the pirate.
Yeah. Now everybody calls me the pirate. I mean, if you think about it, who goes to the Caribbean, gets stationed in the Caribbean and loses an eye, right? So,
true.
Yeah. So, I retired there, but when we left and came back to the States, I knew I wanted to start an investigation agency. I always loved intel, loved, being able to dig into kind of embezzlement stuff, which we do a lot of on the construction side. And I
could have used you a few months ago.
Totally. Yeah. Oh, that sucks, man. I'm sorry you had to go through that.
No, it's all good, man.
Yeah. So we came here and where we were seeing a lot of embezzlement and internal, you would call it, sounds fancy, but it's really not, internal espionage, where construction companies would bid on a project. Well, construction company A would go to a clerk at construction company B and go, hey, I'll kick you $1,000 if you give me their bid. And then they would underbid them, right? They would get the contract. And so we did a lot of that work. Then started doing, basic background checks for truck drivers, those kind of things. But my wife's and I were sitting down and chatting. And she's like, we should really be trying to do something bigger and grander. And my daughter's 9 years old. One of my boys is 14. My oldest is a cop there in Vegas. But so we said, hey, why don't we start doing background checks on CrossFit gyms and jiu-jitsu gyms? There's a real need for that, and to protect our industry and our passion. Holy crap! Like, let's start refocusing the business. And so that's how this came about. And
I love that.
Yeah, it's been awesome, man. We're pretty stoked to be able to help our industry. My wife does jiu-jitsu. All my kids do jiu-jitsu. So yeah, super passionate about it.
So with the type of background screening that you guys are doing, I know we talked a little bit about just like sort of the average background check that doesn't really give you a whole lot.
Yeah.
What exactly is the type of information that you guys are getting on someone that you run through these screenings?
Yeah. So, okay, here's a great example. This one just happened recently. So we run a person, and then that person has a maiden name, right? She was before she was married. Well, if you run just the person in front of you and not the maiden name, you're only going to get the history on the person that you're running. You won't get the history on the maiden name. Well, that goes to if somebody legally changed their name. So say there's a chomo out there, and he goes and legally changes his name, you're only going to get the history on that person. You're not going to get the history on the person before. And so when you do kind of the cheaper ones, they're just doing just a kind of a basic data search. A great example is anytime you could put something into a system and in 30 seconds retrieve the information, that should worry you.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Yeah. So, and that's
like the microwave background check.
Yeah, that's why I stress we don't do background checks. We do background investigations. Like, we want to know if we're putting our seal of accreditation behind a coach that we can stand by that, so much so that we'll go to court and help litigate for that gym. You know,
Oh, wow.
so and that's where we can come in and we use Case Tracks, which is an awesome reporting system. LA sheriffs use it. Just about every private investigation agency uses those for case management. So when it does go to litigation, we're able to pull up your file from front to beginning and be able to say, you know what, this coach or this gym owner has all their coaches background checked. We've done this. This was the investigation. Here's a prime example. In a jiu-jitsu gym, right? So now you've just done a background check and again, check. And somebody comes to you and goes, hey, my daughter just has this weird feeling. This coach said something inappropriate to her. And what do you do as a gym owner? Well, I'll tell you, a lot of times it's like, oh, well, he probably didn't mean it that way. And you just kind of blow it off, right? You're like, I don't want to deal with it. And in reality, all you're doing is stacking up that potential litigation and tortoise issues, right? Instead of saying, okay, we have this reporting system. Will you fill out the intake and we'll assign an investigator to it if we feel it's so egregious, right? And that's not happening in gyms right now, man. A lot of times it's like, that's such a scary word. Like, I don't even want to deal with it. Like, how do I get out of this conversation instead of kind of facing it head on? And that's what our accreditation does is helps you face it head on. So you can kind of step back as the owner and go, you know what? We're going to hand this over to Acacia and let them investigate it. Give us the report. We'll come back to us and make a determination as a business owner what we do from there, right? Now, 9 times out of 10 is probably nothing. And it's good for the gym owner, right? That they're being able to do that. And so when we're able to show that to a court, if a gym were to get sued, it just shows the due diligence of that owner and that gym, that they don't let things slide, that they take things serious, that they're not just a jiu-jitsu gym, they're a business, they're a corporation, right? Their brand is important to them. And so that's what we're trying to really get to the message out to gym owners. Like, let us take on that additional liability for you so that we can investigate it for you.
Yeah, I love that. And I'm hoping that as like gym owners are listening to this, they're thinking of like this almost like an investment into your future, because it's like insurance, right? You buy it because you hope you never have to use it, but when the time comes when you have to, you're glad that you had it, right? And I think this is so essential. And I love what you guys are doing, because I think this is going to raise the standards of the entire industry to a different level. I think it's bring more respect to the industry as well, just because of what you guys are doing to ensure that, hey, we are the right people coaching kids. We are the right people doing this. We've done the due diligence. We've done the homework on it and gone past the initial step compared to what most locations probably do.
Yeah.
And when a school owner like myself wants to have this process done, can you talk to me a little bit about the process of going through it, the costs, all that stuff?
Yeah. I'm glad you asked, man. And great comments on that for sure. It's like, you can be a jiu-jitsu owner, or you can be like, your brand is important, right? And you have a premium jiu-jitsu gym versus a jiu-jitsu gym, right? Yeah. So somebody interested in it, they can go right to our website. And hopefully we can put it in the link here.
Yeah.
And you'll see that there's an application intake. It's like 16 questions, completely automated. Lets us know a little bit more about you, what you're looking for. Are you looking for the feedback loop? We also have an intake injury for serious and minor injuries, so that we could track your injuries for you.
Love that.
Nothing's worse, man, than losing a client you don't know why, and then find out they got injured. Well, then to find out that it's the same coach, and I coach too, and I teach some tricky moves to white belts, and I probably shouldn't, honestly, right? But if you started getting data on me that I'm hurting all these white belts and you're losing business, you can come to me as a coach and go, Randy, dude, Barata Plata, really, for a white belt? It's his third day.
Yes. I mean? Or a heel hook. Sometimes I have to hold him back.
That's what I was gonna say.
I have to hold him back in my gym sometimes, Adam. And I think if I could answer that, the pricing on that, Adam, too, is so for me, I am a gym owner, right? I have two jiu-jitsu academies in Pacific Northwest, and I'm doing the sales side of things, right? Where Randy has the federal agent background and he has his private investigation firm. I'm doing the sales, talking to my contacts, and right now the industry standard is called Safe Sport. And Safe Sport goes hand in hand with another background investigation. I think it's called NCIS, which again is pretty surface level. Talked to a few academy owners that actually have went through Safe Sport and still had an issue with somebody who had a background because it didn't go deep for the reasons that Randy talked about. So our program and our service is definitely more of a premium service. I mean, We're looking for academy owners that really want to have longevity and really are thinking about, the long-term, reputation and everything in their gym. So, but we try to make it super affordable. So we have monthly packages anywhere from $39 a month to $99 a month, depending on how many schools you have. And then there's the down payment, which is the background check, the background investigations, which can go up depending on the person's background. Because if a red flag hits, then the gym owner would be notified, and then Randy would basically the gym owner would tell Randy either investigate it further or not. And each of those further investigations are an added cost. But our purpose, man, is to really do something more for academies, for jiu-jitsu, and not just jiu-jitsu. My business partner is a guy named Sifu Mike Mather, and he has our school in Rainier, Oregon, and he's actually an old school karate champ. And he fought Raymond Daniels, and he fought all the best. He's a world champion in the point fighting. And so he has a lot of contacts in the karate world, and there's other standards, right? But there's other organizations, but Safe Sport's kind of the main one. So what we want to do is we're not only doing the checks, we're holding your hand if something does happen, God forbid, you get a hold of us, and then you can investigate it. So and part of that monthly cost too is the reporting system. So there's a QR code in everyone's school. Whether it's good or bad, it can also be just positive feedback. A parent can hit the QR code and say, hey, I had a great experience with this coach. Or let's say it's not a good experience. Something happened. I want to report this. That'll go to Randy's investigation company, and then he'll review it. And then he'll determine if the academy owner, him and the academy owner will talk about it, if that's something that needs to be further dealt with. And God forbid something does happen. Now you message Randy and say, hey, this is the deal. This guy posted on Facebook about this coach or whatever it may be. What do I do? Up until now, the academy owner has to do their own cleanup, and I've seen up in here, I don't know about you, Adam, but I've seen multiple academies go down for this stuff. And it's really not that much for the extra, like insurance, like you said, man.
Yeah, we had one out here maybe a year ago it was like front page news, and just a terrible, because when that happens, it hurts every martial arts school. Everybody. It's not even just like that one might go out of business, but now everyone in the community has sort of a fear of other martial arts schools. And if that's a thing that is rampant across the industry, which again, I think that it makes me so appreciative of what you guys are doing, because like I really think it's something every school should do and needs to do, regardless of what level they are of revenue or starting off in growth. I think it's the most important thing. Like even if I'm the school owner and I'm teaching all the classes right now, I should still have it done on me so that I can present that information to parents when they ask about it.
Yep. Yeah. Every gym that gets accredited, we supply them for free a a banner, a 3x5 banner that basically says the investigation agency, BEL, Intelligence Investigation, and that you're accredited. Everybody that coaches there has been adjudicated having a good background. And so, yeah, we provide that to the gym so they can flag it right in their front window or wherever in their gym.
That's something I would actually like. We have a tour that we do when we have a new member come in. That would absolutely be part of the tour. I think that's such an important thing especially for like we're kids focused. So it's mostly moms that are coming in with their child. Like my wife, whenever we sign any of the kids up for any sport, she wants to know, are they first aid certified, CPR? Like, do they do background checks at this place? I know she's thinking about that. Other moms are thinking about that as well when they're picking out what their child should go into. When a school signs up with you guys, let's say they sign up and they have like 3 employees. As they bring on new employees, is it just a pretty simple process to get the new employees through the background check?
Yeah.
Investigation, I should say.
Yeah. So you'll see online. So any gym that's accredited through us, of course, we have on file. And then all you basically do is tell your new employee, submit for a new background check. In there, they're going to ask what gym you're from. And then we'll crosswalk it with you saying, hey, I got an intake for, John Smith. Am I cleared to do a background? Just send me an email. Yep, thumbs up. Or text message. Nowadays that's even easier. And then we start the background investigation. The coach gets a letter of adjudication, basically saying that they meet all the Acacia Accreditation standards on the tier 3. But so does the gym. So this is another a benefit when you do your tours, right? Is it's not just the banner. What the gym will also get is a letter from us, basically saying that all these coaches, and we list out the coaches and staff members, have adjudicated backgrounds in a tier 3, and we explain what that is in a tier 2. So literally right there at your office where people sign in, you could put your accreditation letter right on the wall, and you can just say, yep, everybody here is accredited and has a tier 3 background investigation.
Now, a question for you, because I'm always looking at things from a marketing perspective since we run a marketing agency as well.
Yeah, right.
How does this compare to like the background checks that they do for public education and school teachers?
Oh man, this is wild. This is going to blow you away, Adam. I met
is
with
it a tier 2 for teachers?
It's generic. It's not done by a private investigation agency. It's done by a website. So I met with a school superintendent last week, and I was curious as well. It's like, how do all of these state employees, how in the world are they making it past when we learn that they have a history? Like, how do you not know that, especially here in Washington? And so, although the superintendent I met with was in Oregon, he explained they just go through just this company that is online, that's got a contract with the school or the state there in the schools, and it's the front clerk does it, and they just run a background check. So if you want to volunteer, you can sign your stuff, and next thing you know, you get a background check, right? Man, it's so frustrating when I was chatting with him. And I know he felt bad and very, very frustrated himself. I mean, he's a school superintendent. He doesn't want his name branded with somebody that could do that at his school. But his hands are tied. It's bureaucracy, and yeah.
Well, the first of all, that sucks that the school system isn't as thorough. And I know we see problems in the school system all the time with new articles coming out and things about teachers. One of the things, though, I love about that from a marketing perspective is that we can tell parents that we have stricter background investigations than the public school system.
Absolutely.
And what a way to make parents feel safer, because kids are with those teachers for 8 hours a day. They're with us for 45 minutes. And it's like, and we still have stricter guidelines for what we go through to hire our instructors than the public school system. I think that's such a big selling point.
100%. And not even, the kids is a huge one, but everybody, right? Females, right? If you have an instructor that was a wife beater, and you didn't know it, now you have a fully vetted system. And amazing thing happened that I like to tell people on the podcast is, after I instituted this, more women started coming back to train. We had one of the biggest women's classes after Randy came in and accredited us. I accredited 10 coaches, Randy, I think.
Yep.
And we did the full investigation, and the women started coming back. And it's not that we had anybody, I don't think, that made them uncomfortable, but I think it was just that extra, that extra support, that extra accreditation. And two, I think it'll also be a deterrent for other creeps when they see that everybody's background checked and vetted. I think that'll also be a pretty cool thing.
I had a school owner reach out recently to me. They were just asking advice on like how to handle situation, because they had a student that enrolled actually that they found out, I guess, was I don't know, had a sexual offender, and like, what do we do like with this? And I'm like, I was like, you have kids in your building, they cannot be there. I'm like, women are not going to feel safe, all of that stuff. And I agree. If there was something up that said like, hey, we look for these things, we do this check, I think it deters people like that.
Well said. Yeah, and what's good is again, we live in a litigious world, and so if you deny somebody, right, and you could put that on us and say, hey, we can't have you in the gym because our accreditation doesn't allow it, right? So now it's not you as the gym owner, but because of the accreditation, you're not allowed to. Yeah, totally. That way, you as the gym owner can kind of back out of it again, put that liability on us and the accreditation portion. But Adam, one of the things I wanted to chat with you about, just because it's man, you went through something pretty unfortunate, but a lot of times what we saw, at least in the construction world, law enforcement doesn't want to get involved in embezzlement stuff because they don't want to have to do the work for what they consider a low crime. They want other people to do the work. What we had learned is that if we did 90% of the work and provided a case report to a detective, the detective is more likely to take on that case than if a gym goes, hey, I just lost $60K because my employee stole from me. They're going to be like, okay, I'm going to come take a report. You're never going to hear from them again. Versus if you contact us and go, Randy, I think we just lost X amount of dollars. Can you start looking in our books and start an investigation? And then we contact your local detective and we start opening up that case. You're going to get more groundwork than if you just try to do it alone.
So you're absolutely right. We filed the report in February of last year for this.
Yeah, nothing.
So I gave them a binder like this big of everything printed, like written up, like 3-ring binder, delivered it. And this was all in February when I gave them all of this. I paid for a different company to do all the background checks and look into the history to present that. I contacted the previous employers to find out they had the same experience, got letters from them to give to them. Now it's stuck because they're waiting on a warrant from one financial institution before they can give it to the county attorney to move forward, which I don't know if I'm allowed to say yet. We might have to take that part out, but that's sort of where we're stuck right now. But it's been it's been a year process that we've just been like waiting and talking to the detective we're working with. He's like, we're just understaffed. And like, he goes, then if they bring someone in, that case moves to the top priority. Yours goes below that. And it's just sort of that constant thing. And man, if I knew about you guys sooner, that would have been super helpful in that situation.
Well, we can still help. We can still help you, brother. And you know what? And I think it's, at least in my perspective, because I built my academy from, 0 to where we're at now, a few hundred students between my schools, and you just go on trust. You'd say, hey, at least that's how I did things in the beginning, right? And it's like, I need someone to be the front desk. Hey, mom, come up and do it. I need someone to coach. I'm doing a tournament. Go do it. And then it's like, oh yeah, he's a good guy, and don't worry about it. And then now, as we moved up in our academy and things like that, and, we start to understand the business side and standard operating procedures and, the nuts and bolts of things. This service is what I consider that top tier of protection.
Absolutely.
It's like a guy the other day, he goes, he was on a call with me and Randy, and he goes, man, well, why would I do this? I have insurance, or something along the lines. I can't exactly remember why, but I basically said, well, you have insurance. Has your building ever caught on fire? Right? No, but you have insurance. And the same thing, he goes, why would I ever use this? This has never happened. It's never happened, but this is that higher level of insurance. It's
I
not
would never
just
want
the
to say
check.
that out loud.
Right. Yeah, we're going to be editing a lot out of this, brother, but it's not just the check. It's the ongoing support that we offer. Because I've had Randy. I was blessed to have Randy come in my school 6 years ago, and this guy, he got me through COVID. I didn't know what to do during COVID, and he also is part of the parks and park services. He has 8,000 employees in the government. And luckily he came to my school. He was able to guide me through that. Any issues that I've had, if I've been out of town and somebody came in and caused a disturbance in my gym, I was able to refer to him. And he was kind of doing this service for me just because his family goes there. He wants to make sure it's a good place.
Sure.
So now we tried to package it. We also have another thing. It's an injury protocol, which is pretty cool. I don't know in every really anywhere that does striking or jujitsu, you're going to have injuries.
Yep.
So you can also hit the QR code if you have an injury, and you can say, hey, I got injured. And then that's going to go to, again, the academy owner. So we can figure out, what's happening with our staff. We can, it gives me the ability to move instructors around. If I have an instructor who I think is going to be a good kids coach, but a bunch of people are getting injured, maybe I want to move him to a competition class. Maybe his style is better for a different group of people.
Sure.
Right. So that's kind of the ongoing service. And then there's another piece that's specific for jiu-jitsu gyms, not so much striking gyms, but that's the mat cleanliness piece. Randy has a system where he can send out a mat swab. Randy, if you want to talk about that, there's a kind of a background story on that.
Yeah. So, man, this one was passionate to me. And this one I've always kind of just really thankful. So my son, Enzo, he's 14 now, he's good now, but he got cancer at 2, leukemia.
Oh, wow.
And and so, he wasn't around any kids. The first time he was actually ever around kids, he was cleared to go to jujitsu. And so we had a long talk with the jujitsu coach, and said, he's still in remission. He's neutropenic, very susceptible to, infections and stuff. And we expected the coach to go, we just can't. We'd love to, but we can't. TJ Lavin, and this was when I was stationed in the Bay Area. And he says, yep. He's like, I got a couple classes that you guys can come into. And I never knew he was actually spending more money than probably I was giving him for Enzo to go and be with other kids, learn jujitsu, because he wasn't allowed in school at the time because of his remission. And he really went above and beyond to make sure his gym was clean. And so awesome. When Robin and I, my wife and I, were talking about this, one of the things that we'd always talked about are skin diseases. We always watch him. He's always, especially now during puberty, he's more the potential for him to get leukemia again is high. And so I said, you know what, there's got to be a system that we could test mats. And so went down this huge rabbit hole, and sure enough, there is. And so I said, why don't we just wrap this into an accreditation process to where, I don't know how many times you've gotten ringworm or staff, but I know I was a wrestling coach at Sierra Vista High School when I was stationed in Las Vegas. And man, these kids were putting makeup on their ringworm because they didn't want to get kicked out during skin checks during tournaments. Man, I was getting it all the freaking time. Anyway, I wanted to make sure that there was a system that we could do post outbreak, right? So if there was an outbreak in your gym and you now clean it, right? Although most gyms like ours, we still have our kids help clean it. It's part of them growing up and learning responsibility. It's a part of that leadership stuff that they do. But there's a risk there, right? And so so now you can call us if you're accredited and go, hey, I just had an outbreak. We have a cleaner coming through. We need swabs. And so we'll overnight you some swabs. you do your swab test and you overnight them back to us. And then in our system here, we'll run it to see if you have abundance of bacteria that would lead to staph or ringworm. And so that way we can get you a letter saying, yep, you've cleaned it. And we've buccal swab tested, certain areas of your high traffic gym.
Do you guys ever have people that just do it regularly, just as almost like an insurance policy? Like I'm always thinking, like, since we work with a lot of parents, if I can tell moms that we get the mat tested for cleanliness every so often, just to ensure we're the cleanest facility in town.
Yeah, no, I've never seen a gym proactively do it. But could you imagine if
I want to be your first one then?
Yeah, every quarter, right? Every quarter we test our mats. I mean, you talk about marketing, not just marketing, but like, I want to go to a gym that is cognizant about that.
Yes.
That's a premium gym to me, right? I think a lot of times we think of a premium jiu-jitsu gym that they have showers, but not that they test the showers, or mats or what have you.
And jiu-jitsu gyms, we kind of have been stuck in the Stone Ages for so long. A lot of the Taekwondo and karate schools I see, you go and it's nice and it's beautiful, it's all clean. You go to a jiu-jitsu gym.
You're giving us a lot of credit.
Well, I mean, some of them.
Yeah.
But you go to a jiu-jitsu gym and they're, a bunch of, guys with one eye and ringworm and scars and things that they don't clean the mats. I mean, my original school that I trained under Higan Machado, when I started at 13, man, there was puddles of sweat on the mat in the heat in California. And we got staph all the time. I mean, I've had staph over 20 times cut out of my leg, my arm. And so those are the things we think about as like kind of the future of the industry, keeping it clean.
Yeah. But can you imagine, Adam, if a kid got staph from one of our gyms?
The parent would be in your face immediately.
It would be on Facebook. It would.
Yep.
People would stop coming. They
don't clean their mats. Not safe for kids. Like all of that.
Yep.
That's why I sort of like that proactive approach to it, because it's
love it.
In the event something does happen, or maybe the kid got ringworm at school or something, and the parent comes in and is blaming you. You're like, hey, we just had our mats tested X number of months ago or whatever, and like we can show you the report. It came back. It was clean. There was nothing, no bacteria, anything like that. I think that's super powerful. I didn't realize you'd started training with Higan. Fun story. Last time I saw Higan, we were in line at the Comedy Store in LA, and he was there. And he's like, why are you guys sitting in line? He's like, just come up here. Then he walked us in and took us to the green room in the back. And Rogan was performing that night, but it was so random, but it was awesome. It's cool to start with him. We did not expect it. We got there so late. We're like last people in line, and we're like, we're gonna be in the worst seat in the place. And then Higan walks up with Eddie Bravo, and he's like, just you guys just come follow me. I'm like, yes.
Higan's the best. He's such a nice and caring guy. One of the most, friendliest guys, and there's not a bad bone in his body. There's no ego there, and a lot of people say that, but I was blessed enough to live next to his academy in Torrance. And so he took me through all the way to black belt in jiu-jitsu. And now he's coming up next month, and we're hoping to kind of have him get behind this as well with the Higan Machado affiliations that we're a part of. So he's going to be a huge piece and kind of being kind of a trailblazer for us on this front.
A good guy to have help with that too.
Yeah, definitely.
People want to get signed up with you guys, they can go to your website, fill out the application, go through that. We will get Move Martial Arts, our school, signed up like this week to get going on that. Now that I know more about it, like as a parent myself, I want my kids going to the safest places. I want them being around the right people. I want them taken care of the right way. And like, why wouldn't I provide that for the parents that come to our school? So that's a no-brainer for me. Yeah.
Well said.
Awesome, man. That's so cool. That's so cool. And that you're the type of guys that we want to align with, man. Like, that are really, caring about these issues. Mm-hmm. But like you said before, we want to make it accessible for everybody. And you can always reach out to me directly on Instagram. at Deep Stoner Jiu-Jitsu and book a discovery call with me and Randy. You know, and you can reach out to Randy as well. Yeah, we're just looking to better the universe, and not just in jiu-jitsu. You know, we're just starting with jiu-jitsu because that's who we are, and not even jiu-jitsu, martial arts, and then we're going to go to kind of that, you know, the next sports, and kind of work through all the different sports and try to do it, and because that's what we're here for. Try to make a difference, brother.
I love that.
Yeah, and that the Acacia is athletic coach, safety and integrity accreditation. And then so you can just type that in and take you right in. And anybody interested, even if you're just interested and you fill out an application, just, you know, anyone that's listening, and we'll give you a call. I mean, we want to make it work for you. Awesome. Our whole goal is to protect our industry. And you can tell by the price point, we're not in it to make it rich. We want to make it sustainable for sure. Yep. We want to work with you. So fill out that application and reach out to us directly. We're on Instagram as well, Acacia Accreditation. Anybody out there, man, we want to look for good people like you, Adam.
Yeah, I love that. Well, I'll have to talk to you guys after about having you guys come out to one of our events. Because we got a whole bunch of school owners that show up to those events, and I really feel like every school owner needs to hear about this service, because I think it can prevent so much future liability and headaches down the road, and it can help them just manage those situations so much better. And to me, it's just so important for this industry to push it forward to where it needs to be and get it out of the Stone Age, is to have concrete things like this that we can show people that, hey, we're doing all the right things, because we know of the liabilities of working with kids and working with women. We want to make sure that we have all the safety checks in place. So I love it, guys. Thank you so much for doing this as well.
Appreciate you, brother. Definitely appreciate you.
Thank you.
Yeah. And we're all parents too. You know what I mean? That's what's awesome about this. Like, we recognize it not just as jiu-jitsu athletes, but as parents, you know, so yeah.
100%.
Excited for the future.
Yeah, same here. Well, thank you guys. I appreciate you guys coming on, and looking forward to see you guys hopefully being everywhere in this industry.
Love it, buddy. Chat with you soon.
All right. Sounds good. Appreciate you guys.
Thanks, bud. Bye.
Thank you.